Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in and welcome to another episode of Transcending the Culture. This is episode 31. Glad that you guys are here with me. An exciting night tonight. First of all, I know you guys are wondering, Tiffany and Kat, they are out tonight. Life is kind of calling, some things going on. Kat will actually pop up in the comments. So sometime throughout the show tonight, you will see Kat pop into the comments and she'll be chatting with you guys and throwing comments up on the screen and that sort of thing. But otherwise, it is me, myself, and I. All good. A very, very good night tonight. I'm really, really excited about this. As most of you guys know, I have been doing this for 20 plus years. So clearly, I love what I'm doing. And tonight I get the opportunity to talk with somebody who, in my book, I think in everybody's book, he is a legend. He has been doing this for a great amount of time. Uh, Definitely going to be able to impart some wisdom upon us, and we'll get a really good opportunity just to get a feel for his time in the industry and the things that he's been able to see, and then also the things that he's been able to teach his son, who, in my mind, he is passing the torch to. So he's actually on this conversation with us tonight too. The amazing Gerald Alston, who is of the Manhattans. Definitely a lot of my more seasoned viewers are going to know who the Manhattans are, and then those of you, the younger people who are in here, you definitely going to learn something tonight. So you are here on a good night. It's a great time, and then also again we have Cal, who is Gerald's son. He's got some amazing music out there too. A video that we're going to be able to share with you guys, and it's going to be a great time. So all that being said, since I don't have my crew here with me, we're just going to go ahead and get into this interview. I know you guys have been, we've been talking really for the past week, and we've been chatting, and we've been talking about all this stuff that's going on in the industry. You guys know what I'm talking about. Everything happening with Diddy and all the other stuff. So we will more than likely get on here on another day, since the ladies are not here tonight. And of course, so many things came out today. So we are going to, obviously review a lot of that stuff, and then we'll be back on here maybe tomorrow. But definitely in the coming days. So we'll be back with that. But all that being said, I want to go ahead and welcome my guests in tonight. Again, I have Gerald Alston of the Manhattans, and I have Cal. Fellas.
How's it going?
Listen, it's going amazing, man. I just want to say, and I know we kind of talked a little bit before we actually got started, but I just want to say thank you, man. Again, I left high school knowing what I wanted to do. So I've been blessed to be able to interview artists really for the past 20 plus years, about 23 years. And it's always a time for me when I get to talk to the legends and the people who have been here and they've seen this industry and, inside and out. And they can teach me stuff that I feel like I know and I don't know anything. I think it's just so much out there for us to know, about the industry, and so much stuff happening today, which I don't know, a lot of things that are happening today. It might parallel stuff that you've seen over the last, 40 years or for 40 years or more. But I do think that there's a lot of wisdom that we can get from you. And I know there's a lot that you're sharing with Cal, who we got down here on the bottom. So I do want to welcome you both to the podcast. And I really just want to start out with you guys really introducing yourselves and letting everybody know who you
are. All right. Okay. As he said earlier, I'm Gerald Alston, and I've been with Manhattans for 53 years. And the group has been together for 63 years.
Yeah.
And in fact, we're still performing and recording. And in fact, we are in Auburn, Washington tomorrow night.
Okay. Wow.
And, so I'm here in Seattle with my cousins, and they're feeding me. Oh my God, that home stuff.
Okay.
Good to see him too. Yeah.
Okay. And you, sir?
I am Cal. I am a singer, songwriter, and yes, even a rapper. And I've been doing this for now a pretty good amount of time. I'm finally taking my steps into putting out my own project. So we have the album Rebirth and Revelations that's out now. That's where my latest single is off of. So yeah, I've been watching him for all my life. And yeah, and taking notes, learning different things, and trying to keep tradition with certain things that I think have been lost as well.
Yeah.
In
You
terms
sound like me when you say things that have been lost and that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. So it's been a journey of doing that, of learning those things and then trying to keep them relevant, keep them present, and like, you know, passing the torch in the next generation as far as how we perform and how we approach shows. So it's been a crazy but very insightful and like fun experience.
Okay. We are definitely going to dive into that. You know, when we get into, or when we start thinking about things that are missing in the industry. I really kind of travel along those lines. Like when I think of media and journalism and just kind of what you see out there today versus what was out there. I won't even say 20 years ago, but when I went to school, like when I went to college and what they taught us in media and mass communications and all of that stuff, it's like a lot of that stuff, nobody's doing that stuff. I mean, unless you're looking at, unless you're looking at, like the 358s or the CBSs and the ABCs and the NBCs,
Right.
and truthfully, they're not even necessarily following the code that that's in the textbooks and all of that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of doing their own thing. So I'm always wrestling with, what's good for media and what's not good for media and what I want to put out there versus what. And in all honesty, that's really why I do my own thing. It really worked for myself because I think for as long as I wanted to work for like the major media companies and the BETs, and it's like once I kind of got there and I was able to do that kind of stuff, I was just like, I'm not really digging it. I got to do my own thing. So we will dive into that a little bit more as far as you and the industry and what you see, what you want to change, what you think should be there, all that kind of stuff. But Mr. Alston, take us back, like take us, obviously back to the beginning of the Manhattans. How did that come together for you?
I was in college and I had a group called Gerald Alston and the New Imperials.
Right.
In Manhattans, performed at my college. They were on tour with Supremes, and they needed a sound system. So my English professor asked me, could they borrow mine? I set it up. They heard me sing, and they invited me to sing on the show. They took my name and address and number, and that was October of 1970. And the rest is history.
That's got to be a feeling like first of all to lend your sound system to them,
yeah,
and then you end up singing for them, and then you end up in the group. Like, how does that happen, or where does that happen at?
That's a blessing because to get in this industry, if you're not grandfathered in or know somebody can help get you in grandfathered in, it's difficult. It's very difficult.
Absolutely.
And the industry has changed so much from what it used to be.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And this situation with the record companies are different now. A lot of independent labels. And it's just a vast difference than what it was when I started.
Do you feel like things have changed for the better, or do you feel like they've changed for the worse? Because obviously there's the independent factor, which really works for a lot of people because you end up obviously seeing more of the money, and that's the thing, and you have more of a say in what that you're doing and putting out there, but it's not so difficult for people to get into the industry.
No, not today with social media and the right package they put together, and the number of hits and likes they get on social media, and you have to have a good presence on social media.
Yeah,
and it's not like you can go to a record company and they offer you a deal. There are a few companies that offer deals. They're independent companies, but the major companies basically go about how your success is on social media.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel like that's a Do you feel like that's a good method? You know, just in terms of,
Well,
and the only reason why I ask that is because, you know, obviously when you look at somebody's social media and you look at the numbers, like it can be quite deceiving because
yes.
it looks like they have 3 million followers, but they could have bought all 3 million.
That's it.
Yeah.
Calvin helped me to something. We released a record, and I had this person as a social media publicist, and they had all of these emails. They sent me emails of all the people that were listening. So Calvin decided, Dad, let me check some of this. And a big majority of them were dummy emails.
Yeah.
You know, so it takes a lot of work on yourself and getting people you can trust to do that for you.
What is that like? What is it like for you to be able to learn these kind of things from your son now?
Excuse me, I got a cough here.
No, I get it.
Well,
I got a little one too. So.
Sometimes he chastises me. Daddy, this is easy. It's like this, you know, just do this, blah, 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 blah. But it ain't bam, and it's done. But he also, and it's a good thing. You know, you're never too old to learn.
Absolutely.
And when you're doing things the right way, like he is, he studies, he's researching things. He can teach me about the things that technology of today that I have no knowledge of. And this to me is a little difficult, a little overwhelming, but I got him there. I have another cousin that handles some of our social media, and I'm with my cousins now, and they're getting ready to help me with some things on TikTok.
It's nice when it's a family thing, though.
Yeah. But it's good. Calvin has showed me a lot, you know.
I think that's amazing, though.
Yeah, and you have to listen. I have to listen.
Absolutely. How is that, Cal? How is that for you to be in a position where you can teach your dad these things? Like,
it's cool because I spent a lot of time watching him and seeing how entertainment worked for a large part of like my younger years. It was still kind of like the standard thing that a lot of us may be familiar with. And watching as social media became more prevalent and propelling people into stardom or propelling people into a music career, for me, I was able to watch the gap be bridged. So now there are things that, like, for instance, when we had that situation, I thought about it because the bottom line is engagement, right? Like you said, like people can posture and we buy the followers and we buy the blue check and we do this, that, and that's great. But that only works if we're trying to sell an image. But when it's time to go and do the show, you have to be able to pack out the room.
Absolutely.
And for him, they always do that. So at that point, it was just about if we want to get that pull and that following, and we want it to be genuine, then we don't need someone to pad your stats. When you're selling out places, now it's just about making sure that you're on. They know you're online. You make you let them know that you're available. That's what it is. And I mean, obviously, I'm going to be protected because I don't want someone to take advantage of him. So for me, that's been the coolest thing, is just kind of bridging that gap. And then, of course, stepping in when I can. And even sometimes equating some of the things and like saying, okay, for instance, you remember how you had to go and you had to market a CD, you had to do all these things, all these different steps. So if you were going to do a rollout for a record, how you did it when the Manhattans were rolling out records in the 70s and the 80s and stuff like that is completely different from how you do it now. Yeah. Now we may do a social media blast, we may do a campaign online. There's a bit of a different way you market it, and being able to like explain that, and he gets it as soon as you make the, you know what I mean? You make the connections like, oh, okay, cool, I got it. And then we figure it out and we do it. So that's always been the cool part.
I can see already, I mean, outside of how intelligent you are, I can see already why TNG works with you. you are like the like because I have a PR company as well, and I'm particular about who I work with just because I publish a digital magazine. I have a podcast network. I do a radio show. I do a couple podcasts. I engineer other people's podcasts, updating my websites, handling their social media and that kind of stuff. So like, I got a lot of stuff going on. So I'm particular about who I work with because I need to have people who, obviously I'm going to help them to be able to do X, Y, Z, and
Right.
take certain things. But I also need people who kind of have that knowledge and they've done some research and they kind of know what they're doing and they can handle certain things and they know what they're talking about. And
Right.
you sound like somebody who's been in this industry for I'm not gonna say as long as your dad, but you sound like somebody that's been in this
And
industry.
I've just been watching. I've been watching and taking notes where I can. That's all I've been doing.
Yeah, but then clearly you've been learning from your dad too. I think that's an amazing thing. Like I'm quite sure that, and when I think of like a father and son type of a team or something like that, like obviously I'm sure I know you two are not the first. The first that comes to mind for me, and I'm based in Cleveland, so I think of like Eddie Levert, Gerald
and Gerald.
Yeah. And I've been blessed to be able to interview both of them. Obviously Gerald Levert before he passed away.
Right.
And Eddie Levert, I did something with him actually when he did the Soul Cipher on the Soul Train. So that was like 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Being able to talk to both of them, it was just like, you get it. Like you get it. Like Gerald was all about Eddie and Eddie was all about Gerald, and they both was learning from each other. And it's a beautiful thing because, obviously you can't be taken for a fool or made a fool of because your dad has really taught you the ins and outs of the industry.
Oh yeah.
And then your dad is not going to fail because, obviously technology has come into play. And again, there's TikTok and he's learning that kind of stuff now because of you. And listen, I'm 46 and I don't know nothing about TikTok. I got about 1,200 followers and I don't know how the hell I got them. And I'm just like, I don't know.
We're in the same boat. We're in the same boat.
Yeah, absolutely. But now I think it's dope and it's kind of cool because my son, he's actually turning 18 this year. So like there's a lot of stuff like in terms of like the TikTok piece and stuff like that my son is able to show me. So I think that dynamic that you two have is like really, really amazing. Like, how does that feel to be able to come into this industry, but you have like obviously the foreknowledge of what your father has been able to show you, with the industry?
It definitely it helps sifting through a lot of, because like it's unfortunate, but it's the world we live in. A lot of times people want to take advantage of people who are dreamers, right? You have a dream, whatever it is, and specifically in the creative space when you're working with the arts, it a lot of times we're enamored by like the glitz and the glam of it. So you'll have people that will, try to throw out names and try to throw out all these other things to wow you. And then when the important part comes up about getting paid, now it's, So it helps weed out that stuff and weed out, who's being legitimate and who's really there to create a space for artists and stuff like that. And I mean, that's the most important thing for me. And then of course, one of the things I think that it's small, but it's just an example is like even just sound checks. You have certain venues where they're not even doing that basic stuff. But every time we go on the road, there's a sound check. We may get in a little rehearsal before or after. These are all things that need to be done anywhere. This isn't just something you do for a specific show. This is what you do at any event because Murphy's Law, you prepare for the worst and hope for the best. It's something that you have to do, and you'd be surprised. You go certain places and they're like, here's the mic, and the mic may be too hot, or you get there early, and it's those kind of things. So that's just a small example, but that's the kind of stuff that if I go and I see that, I may say, okay, maybe this venue isn't for me because they're not on the up and up.
Yeah.
So it's just like it helps guide and keep you in the spaces where you can really flourish and really do the best. That's what ultimately comes down to with the wisdom I've gotten from him.
Yeah, it's interesting listening to you. Like again, it puts me in mind of my son, and when I listen to certain things that he says and just certain conversations, and I'm just sitting on the side and I'm listening to the conversation. Like sometimes I and I'm not even gonna front. Like sometimes I tear up a little bit because I'm just like, damn, like
I know the feeling.
like smart.
I know the feeling.
Like he's smart. Like, and I say that just to really ask you, Mr. Alston, like, how does that make you feel just to listen to him talk and hear the knowledge that he really has?
I feel wonderful in that, and I feel blessed. You know, a lot of times we say our kids don't listen to us, but
They do.
They really do.
They absolutely do.
Yes, they really do.
Yeah.
And it makes me proud to see that he's utilizing what he's learned over the years from me.
Yeah.
And even though the music industry has changed, when I confront him or talk to him about the things that happened to me back in the 70s, the way things were going on or were done, he knows the difference. He can see the difference between what's happening today. And in a lot of instances, the game is the same. The players only change. And now you have technology, and they can just get that edge on you.
Yeah.
And that's where he has the advantage. And I'm proud of him. Very proud.
Absolutely. And just kind of piggybacking off of what you said, like they do listen to us. Like
Yes.
I just know that when my son was born, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just knew like I gotta go back to school and I gotta do something. And like it just knowing like my journey and my path and just how he's watched me graduate from each school and getting degrees. And my mother and I coincidentally we graduated when I graduated college. We walked together, so
Right.
That's dope.
That's
dope.
And like, he's been able to see that. He's been able to see his mom going to school and graduating and all of that stuff. So all of that trickles down. So it's like the knowledge that all of us have had and the things that we've done, he's like really mimicking a lot of that stuff now.
Nice.
So they really do listen to us. And then just your longevity, like touring after 53 years of this, like that's really that really says that you have known this industry too, even though we're learning every day. So I mean, there's definitely stuff that you're still learning from Cal, but on the same token, there's no way that you could be here this long and be doing this for as long as you have if you didn't know what you were doing and you didn't know this industry. So kudos to you, for everything that you've done. How is that for you to still be out kind of touring full force and like you're traveling right now, but then you got a show tomorrow?
Yeah. The audiences, our fan base from like 30 in the 30s to the 40s, they are kind of started to relating to our music. And at first I was kind of concerned, but I realized one of the other singers in the group and I were talking, and he was saying that the 30-year-old fans between 30 and 40, he said they're beginning to listen to our music and understand what it's about and see, and what's happening today, what I want to do and what I'm learning from Calvin, excuse me, in the industry today is that we want to bridge the gap. I want to be able to sing what I sing, but the production need to be what's happening today.
Right.
I remember when disco came in, and we were working with the Dells, and Marvin Jr. made a comment. He said, how would you visualize the Dells singing disco? Okay, they've been singing. Dells have been singing close to until they retired. They were up in the 60s that they had been singing years, and but he made a valid point, and so I have with Calvin and the younger generation, I'm learning that we could bridge the gap if we sing what we do, but yet make the production and all what they like.
Right.
And that's the difference. And Calvin is doing it. Calvin sings and he raps, but he sing and rap to bridge the gap.
Yeah.
And that's very important. And I'm very proud of him doing that, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I was gonna say it's something with you, but I just like when I listen to your music and like when I was watching the video and like I can tell like you have really worked at this. Like, how long have you actually like been rapping and singing? Just and I guess in an effort to really build a career with it.
I started rapping in grade school, and it was completely for fun. A friend of mine who passed away, Eric West, we met in the 3rd grade. His brother at the time. This is back during MySpace, right?
Yeah.
His brother at the time.
You like it was so long ago. What?
Look, it was it. Man, I tell you. But it was during the MySpace era, and his older brother at the time was trying to. He was a rapper, and he was trying to get signed to Def Jam. So he had a whole page. He had his different songs for his mixtape, and he introduced me to like the art of it, like just freestyle and stuff. So I started doing that for fun. I didn't really start singing until high school, and that was mom's idea because mom was like, "We need something extra on the college apps. We're gonna put you. We're gonna get you to sing. So then you put that in there for you in the choir." And at that point, by the time I got to high school, rapping I was pretty proficient in. Like it was something I was doing. I wasn't writing anymore. I was just kind of doing it off my head. And then so I started singing, and then it wasn't really until end of high school, beginning of college that I really started taking it serious. Me and a couple guys from our neighborhood, we had a band. They called it AMPM. We used to go and tour little spots either in Jersey or in New York, and we do little gigs there. I'm always the baby, underage. I'm not supposed to be in there singing, so I gotta stay in the corner and wait till they call me on stage. Don't be too close to the bar, all that kind of stuff. So that's how I started, and then from there it started becoming more real. At the beginning of college, I met some more artists who were serious. They were like, "Yeah, I'm on my 3rd project, and I'm looking for a feature, and blah blah blah." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I could do something." And once I put together a verse for an artist, now goes by Moko. He's out in California. He's writer, singer, great. Once I gave him that verse, and he was like, "Oh, okay, yeah. If I like this verse, I'll put it on my project." From there, it just kept going. So that I would say like that was kind of how it started for me. It was just fun at first, and then as I saw people looking at me going, "No, like you can really do this," it became a thing of like, "Yeah, okay, let's get into it and see what it's about." And being around him, it was already a lot of knowledge on the back end. So now it was about developing me. But yeah, that's really where it started.
Yeah. It's one thing for a lot of people to tell you that, hey, you can do this and you sound good and that sort of thing. But what ultimately gave you the confidence to really pursue it? Because like even in terms of when I think of media and I think of doing radio and talking to people and that sort of thing, like anytime I went and I tried out for like broadcasting school or any of that stuff, like that was the first thing that they said was, "Man, you got a really good radio voice and you sound really good and you could really do this." And it's like sometimes you just think they're stroking your ego.
Right.
And for a long time, I really did. But then I think that's because I just didn't really have the confidence to do it. Like nothing, I think in that time, and this was before the MySpace era. So like in that time, like nothing would have ever said to me that, okay, I'm gonna be talking to people and I'm gonna be doing interviews and that sort of thing. Like it probably took me maybe 10 years, and I maybe 10 years to even get comfortable with talking to artists. I don't know. I think I just didn't really have the confidence for it until maybe like 10 years into it. Then it was just like, okay, I got this. Like like, what am I tripping for? Like, I really got this, but it took me a minute. So, like, what gave you that confidence? At because if I had it as young as you are, man, I could have been out of the galaxy.
As far as rapping was concerned, by the time I was in high school, I was very confident in that. Yeah. But again, at the time, it was just recreational. But I was always confident in it. That was never the problem. But here is where I went searching for the confidence when I started singing.
Okay.
And it was because I grew up hearing what singing was supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
So when I opened my mouth and it didn't sound like that, I said, I don't know. I can't do all of that cool stuff he does. So I think and it wasn't even just listening just to Dad, but understanding that, okay, he's singing on key, he's on pitch. I know what he's doing. I know what that sounds like. And then hearing other people and knowing what it sounds like, and then you do it yourself. So I went looking for confidence by really just repetition. I treated it like the gym. I just did vocal warm-ups constantly. And the only thing I didn't do was I was very shy with performing at the time. I didn't start to gain that confidence until what I heard in my head is what everybody else heard when I decided to sing. And that's when I knew that I was onto something. So it took me being able to bring what I heard in my mind to life. That's when I started to gain the confidence. And then what I do sometimes now as a reminder is when I go certain places, certain venues, if it's a showcase or what have you, people will be like, why do you go by yourself? I go by myself because I don't want anyone to stroke my ego.
Right.
When I go in the room and I get on the mic and I do an R&B record, I want people that have never met me before, don't know who I am, to be like, that was good, or that was all right. And when I get the reactions of, oh my God, you can really sing, that's when I go, okay, we're still on the right track. Yeah. So that's how I keep myself in check now. And that's how I first figured it out is what I'm hearing upstairs coming out into the microphone. And that's once that was a plausible thing for me, that's where I started to get more of confidence specifically for singing.
Okay. I think you are amazing, man. Like when I just look at when I look at what artistry looks like today, and what a lot of the artists look like today, and what they don't know, and I'm listening to you talk, and obviously listening to the music and the presentation of it, the overall appearance. Like, I think that you're amazing. Like, you're kind of a find. Like there's nobody else like you right now. When we talk about what's missing, like, you're what has been missing. Like this, like, and I mean, I look at the industry, I look at, again, the overall artistry, I look at the lack of like true A&R and artist development, and like all that stuff is gone. And I know Mr. Alston knows what I'm talking about when I say art development. Like, there were things that when you came into the label, like, first things first, like, you got to learn these things, you got to learn how to do press, you got to learn how to, like, and the people, what it looks like today is the people who have gotten that artist development are the ones who are, they're the ones who are still here, and the ones that are lasting, and the ones that have been out here for 53 years touring and doing new music, and like inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 1999, like celebrating the 50th anniversary, and like that's like amazing stuff, man. And again, to still be touring, like, I know you see, like, it's kind of the thing now for a lot of like the groups of yesteryear to really be back out there touring. And I mean, whether the Manhattans or, I mean, I won't say the Gap Band. I know Charlie Wilson is still out there. I tell everybody he's like Benjamin Button, like he gets younger every year. So like I've been to probably 4 or 5 of his shows, and I mean there's so many artists from the 70s and the 80s and like that, like, who are touring now, and still touring and still doing, not necessarily doing new music, but they're still out there doing shows.
Exactly.
Like, that's an amazing thing to even still have people out there who want to hear that.
Right.
and there again, there's so much wisdom, to be imparted from you, and what you have been able to do out there in the industry. And in what ways do you feel like you're passing the torch to Cal?
Well, because it's time, a number of years. I think I will always sing. But it's a time in my life now where, like the benefits of what I've earned, what I've been blessed with, and our audience is shrinking to a degree.
Yeah.
But then we got, like I said, that middle age, they're coming over.
Yeah.
But it's time to pass it. It's time to pass it on.
Like how much do you feel like? I know you say like the middle age people are now transitioning over.
Yeah.
Often are you seeing like the younger generation coming over? Because I find that even when I listen to a lot of music today, like they are sampling and they are interpolating like music from 50 years ago and from 40 years ago and 30 years.
And that's an indication that they are listening, because when they write a song and they use one of our hooks or one of our vocals in there, they're looking for something that's real. And the songs that we always wrote and performed are real. They're about falling in love, falling out of love,
right.
or cheating, but it's always a story to it. It's a real story, and people identify with it.
Absolutely.
And that's why they use that material. Really, there's nothing new under the sun when it comes to music.
Yeah.
The production will change, but when you want to get right down to it, the bottom line is music. People want to hear something they can understand and relate and identify with.
Absolutely. What do you?
That's what Calvin is doing.
Absolutely.
Exactly what he's doing.
What do you feel is the biggest difference touring today versus touring, hell, even 10 years ago? But like taking it back to all the years that you've been out here, what do you think is the biggest difference today?
Today, excuse me. Today, the difference is the venues. We used to play 10, 20,000 seaters, especially in the summertime. And now artists of our caliber, we're not playing those venues. We're playing the 5, maybe 10,000 seaters sometimes, but majority of them are like 5,000 seaters.
Okay.
Or you split them a smaller venue. But it's more intimate. That's what we like. We like the intimacy.
Yeah.
I love, as far as financially, playing the big venues, but the intimacy of reaching out and touch someone is better in the smaller venues. So it's not a bad thing that's happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's coming back around.
Yeah.
Where we started and how it worked for us.
I would say that I would say that that's one of the things I wanted to just touch on in music now, is like there's a pocket of artists that are doing music the way we are talking about doing music. Yeah. And they are my age, a little younger, a little older, and I love that is starting to gain that traction again. And as he was saying, as Dad was saying, also the reason that you have the sampling and stuff is because they're looking for and they're listening to that kind of music. And the audience, the Gen Z, millennials, we are in this space where we're looking for something that is going to stick, right? Yeah. There's a lot of microwave music, and then you have a section where there are artists that do instrumentation, live instrumentation, and good R&B. And when those artists don't put out anything, then everybody kind of feels like, there's not much out here. So now that's how you get some sampling and you get these other things. So I just wanted to point out that I think there's also a resurgence of this kind of music coming back. And I think that goes to Dad's point, that there is this kind of circling back around to wanting live instrumentation. And I'll also say as well that the other important thing that I learned from him that just is something you don't see a lot of artists thinking about is the ability to pack those spaces after it's been a year or 2 years. You still sing that same song in a year or 2 years and pack a venue. That's the kind of like forethought you need to have when you're doing this, because you know we get the microwave music, it's trendy for the moment, and then a month or two goes by and we're no longer listening to it, and then if you go out in concert and perform it, everybody's like, that's old stuff, I'm not really, you know what I mean? And then when you have the artists that in that pocket, like a Victoria Monet or a Jasmine Sullivan, you know what I mean, you got them, you got Lucky Day, you have people like that. When they go out and perform some of these records, it's a full live band and we're getting a full everything. We may have a horn section, we may have this, or Bruno Mars, same thing. When they perform, we know they could perform that stuff in 5-10 years because of how it's being put together. So I just think it's definitely coming back around full circle, that's what's being craved by the audience. And I think that I've made sure to do is make sure I want to make records that in 5 years, I can say, we're going to do this. We're going to go back and do this record. And everybody in the audience is like, I love this record. Instead of, I was kind of over that one after a month, you know? So those are the kind of things. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of what Dad was saying.
I totally agree with that. And that's actually a good segue for this question. So we actually do have a question. This is actually from Kwueen, who normally co-hosts with me. So she wants to know, who's your favorite artist? And you just started mentioning names, and you said Victoria Monet, who I called it for Victoria Monet probably 10 years ago. The song that she has out right now, when it hit really big, like I purposely went back and searched my Twitter to find the tweet that I tweeted back in 2014, and I said, this girl is gonna blow. Like this girl is really gonna blow.
Yeah, she's the full package.
Yeah.
If who I'd say is like my favorite artist right now. Man. One is obvious. I love Jasmine Sullivan. I can't get enough of her voice.
Yeah.
I cannot get enough of her voice. Who else do I really dig? I really like J. Cole. I really like Kendrick Lamar. I like the artist Mick Jenkins. He's out of Chicago. When I was in college, I listened to a lot of his stuff, and I loved how he like structured his bars and stuff like that. So he was one of the people that I paid attention to as well. Let me see if there's anybody else. There's a lot of names. I'm trying to think of anybody in particular. Jasmine Sullivan, Victoria Monet. Who else do I really like? You know what? I like Avery Wilson.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like Avery Wilson a lot. Him and Luke James, both of them, they're people that I listen to and I go, okay, they've got something. And here it is, Duran Barr. Barr.
Yep.
He's another one, and he comes with a whole personality with his music, which I really think is dope. Like it's not just we're gonna get some great instrumentation, but then it's like there's a personality that he brings that he kind of like ushers in. But yeah, those are some people that I think are really dope that I like.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I couldn't give just one. But yeah, those are definitely some artists that I like.
Yeah, you struck a nerve with Kat. As soon as you said Luke James, she's like,
yeah, he could go for sure.
Now it's actually cool to hear, kind of your list of like the different artists that you're listening to out there. Like you definitely have, you got an ear for music. And you just were talking about, artists that do certain songs, and then maybe 4 or 5 years later they'll come back and do that song, and then everybody's like, oh yeah, I like somebody like, obviously your Kendrick Lamar's, but then also like Anderson .Paak. Like
yeah.
When you think of Silk Sonic,
yes,
and him getting with Bruno Mars, and like that, they've introduced today's generation to so much, like Love Train, and they've introduced today's generation to so much different music. But then when you go back, like that kind of pushed me to actually go back and listen to Anderson .Paak, and it's like wow, this has been out since 2016. Like, where was I at? Like, wow, where was I at? Like, I never heard it, but like, this is dope. Like, he's one of those artists, LMA, like,
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
her album that was out, not this last one, but the album before that.
Yes.
With, I mean, she had like 5 or 6 singles off of it, but then it's like, oh well, she had like 3 or 4 EPs before that, and it's like everything on each one of them is like really, really dope. Like, it's really cool.
Her.
Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely. But then it's like,
phenomenal.
I don't think people really paid attention to like how dope she was. So like, you listen to the music, and then you get a glimpse of when she was 10 or 11 and she's on stage with Queen Latifah, and then she's in The Color Purple. You know, when you watch The Color Purple, and it's like she's in that, and I'm like, when I went to see it, I'm like, I think that's her.
Yeah.
And then what was it? She just performed on TV playing the guitar.
I think, was it halftime show? Is that what you, Super Bowl halftime? Because she was on that with Usher.
Yeah.
She was on that with Usher as well. She came out and played the guitar. I don't think she sang, but she played.
She didn't sing. She came out and played the guitar. But I mean, she's like multi-talented. Like, there's so much that she can do, and I think that people just have not been ready for that. Like,
that's longevity. That's like, she's another one that in 10 years she could come out and we're gonna be like, I want to hear that record. I want to hear that record.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, it's like I said, it's a pocket of artists like that out there, and I would like to be amongst them. Definitely like Usher in his 30-year career as well. Definitely, because he's I didn't say him before, but he's another person. That 8701 album was on constant repeat when I was coming up. That was one of the ones I know the track list. I could know it off the top of my head. But like, he's somebody else.
How like a lot of his music, like I literally just played the Confessions album because I drive Uber too. So I literally just played that album this afternoon in the car. And I know he's got the new album out there, but then he's a testament to that longevity too, because, you know, for a minute, like, people were kind of pushing him off, and they were like, he's kind of dead and he's not really doing too much or whatever. And then he came back and hit it again. So he's definitely a testament to that longevity. I want you to talk a little bit more about your music. You know, obviously you have the Honesty Hour out there, but talk a little bit about about the project that's been out there.
So Rebirth and Revelations, it's the project itself was basically me going through some personal realizations. As I was moving into a new chapter in my life, I had realized that there were certain things I had to change. And as I was realizing what needed to change, I started to realize that it meant I had to change. My demeanor, my personality, how I approach things had to change. And that was the rebirth. And the revelations came in that process of the rebirth, because I started to realize, oh, that is why I've let this happen, or I've behaved this way and it hasn't worked out for me, and it's my problem to fix. It's not always the external stuff. Sometimes it's me. And with the record Honesty Hour, that's what I'm addressing. It's a conversation with myself, really. And I'm talking about how I have to address my shortcomings and where I'm falling short for myself before I go and start to address all the external things that may not be, good for me. I have to first, look and say, all right, we got to stop doing that. We got to have a little more discipline over here, so like that, the entire project is me going through those revelations and how I approach things, there being a rebirth, and how I approach certain situations. But yeah, that's where the project came from. And I've been trying to consistently live up to it ever since, because it really was something that I had to change for myself. And I enjoy getting it out that way.
Yeah, no, I think that's really dope. So how does that transition into new music now?
The main thing that it does now for me is speaking on longevity and things like that, it always made me realize, it was funny, I was thinking about it today, is just one of the things that I've noticed is you have to go inward. a lot of times to really get the next project. And so for me, it was like, okay, well, what else is there that you've noticed in your life that, you know, obviously other people can say, I've been there before. And so now the next project, I don't even want to give the title away yet, but the next project is dealing with other aspects of life that we all can go through, and how and basically how those things can be confusing. Sometimes they can be frustrating, but that's what I've learned is you have to go inward, because I can't the only thing I know better than anything else is me. And if I can talk about that and I can speak on that, I know there's a common thread that connects everybody, where they can say, I've been there before, I've had that experience before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I go from project to project. I've always tried to do that. You don't always want to come off like you have the answers, because we don't. We're figuring it out. Everybody's figuring it out in real time. So that's the best way to go about it.
Absolutely. How do you rate that project, your previous project? How do you rate it in terms of success? And it having nothing to do with numbers, sales, none of that. Like, what was your overall goal for that project, and do you feel like you were successful with it?
I think yes. I think that project was a success because, fun fact, that is the first project where I've done complete R&B songs.
Okay.
First project, because like I said, I was very much closed off with my singing, and I released projects prior. I had Freshman Orientation, The Wasteland, which came out when I was still an undergrad, and then there was a project that I did freshman or sophomore year of undergrad called My Everything. And both those projects, strictly hip hop, strictly rapping. It was some melodic stuff in there, but I was not touching singing, honestly. And this was the first project where I did that, and I executed it very well. Everything, like I said, that I heard in my head was put on wax, and it worked. So I in that regard, in executing what I was trying to do sonically, it was a success. Definitely a success. I have my critiques because I'm leaning towards being a perfectionist every day. So I have my critiques of the project, but in terms of executing specific things that I sought out to do, it was definitely a success.
Gotcha. So, new project. You already said you're not giving us a title. When do you think what, like, in terms of timeline? Like, when are you hoping to actually release something?
I mean, there may be a single or two actually before the year is out, but the project itself, I want to say early next year.
Okay.
Early next year, maybe January, February of next year, we're gonna have a whole new project.
Yeah, that's still less than a year, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now. But I'm thinking 1 to 2 songs, because I was just talking to one of my engineer, Winston, the other day. I was telling him about an R&B medley that I want to put together. He thought it was dope, and yeah, so I'm already excited. There are things there are some cool things in there that I can't wait to do, and yeah, that's the timeline we're looking at right now.
So now that you're in your bag as far as singing, will you be doing more singing than rapping, or how does that balance out?
The goal is eventually to be able to do. I want to do a fully perfected hip hop project, just rapping, and I want to do a fully perfected R&B project, just singing. That is a goal of mine. Because I don't think we've ever seen that before. I don't think we've seen it. We've had our hybrids for sure. I'll never not acknowledge like Lauryn Hill or Anderson.
I was just getting ready to say like Lauryn Hill's and
I will never deny that. But the beauty of what she was doing at the time was she was still blending the two. And as dope as that is, I don't think we've ever seen anybody that you're like, oh, so and so released a hip hop album, and you listen and you're going, wait, they're rapping. Yeah. Every song, every, and then you go, oh, so and so released a R&B album, and they're singing the entire time. Yeah. And I mean, again, coming from the household I come from, I'm used to hearing people singing.
Yeah.
When I think about singing, I'm not just thinking about, a little melodic tune. No, I'm used to hearing him sing "Eye on the Sparrow" in church, and got tears, and people were crying. And, you know, so the bar for what I want to do with the R&B project, the solo R&B project, is high, and that's what I want to perfect. So I'm definitely going to get to a space where it's one full-on R&B project. That's it. And the same thing with hip hop. That is my goal for me.
Okay. Where does Dad come into that? Like, will you guys collaborate on the project?
Ooh, we did. We've done it twice.
Okay.
So I think the first time, I don't know what. Yes, okay. The first time was freshman orientation, the Wasteland. That project, I never forget. I'm listening to the record Kenny Lofton by J. Cole, and I hear her to think that you lied to me. I'm like, no, no. And then I rewind it back. I'm like, I run. So I'm living at home at the time. I bolt downstairs, laptop in hand. And I'm like, Mom, do you know about this? Do you know about? She's like, what are you talking? Do you know about this? And I press play. And I'm like, do you hear that? That's Dad. J. Cole sample Dad. Da, 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 da. So I'm flipping out. I immediately get back upstairs to my desktop, and I start writing a verse to the instrumental immediately. And I was just, because at the time I like I said, I was in college, and he was like one of these artists that I was really just digging what he was saying in his music, and I was really digging his journey as an artist at the time.
Yeah.
I was watching him develop, and I felt very much like a kindred spirit to that kind of development he was going through. So I immediately started writing something, and it was just basically an ode to, you know, saying thank you for recognizing someone like him. And what ended up happening is I go to the studio, and the engineer's like, I forget what happened, but I came up with the idea, and I was like, you know what? To really put the stamp on this, I was like, you know what? I'm going to have Dad come in. And instead of playing the sample that's been playing from the instrumental, I'm going to have him sing the hook at the very end of the record.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I think we ever did anything together.
Cool.
And then the second time we did the gospel album, right?
Yep, gospel album.
So yeah, those have been the two times, and it's been fun. It's been fun. I definitely want to do it again. And same thing I keep saying, what I hear in my head is what I ultimately want to execute, and I have some ideas for what I want to do with my dad in the future. And I think if we can execute those, it's going to be even more dope than what we've already done.
Absolutely. I think this is amazing, man. I think that you're amazing. Like I think your road is definitely a long one. Like I think you're definitely gonna be here for you're gonna be here for about as much time as your dad has been here. Like I think that you're really amazing, man. Mr. Alston, what's next? I mean, outside of the show tomorrow, like what's to come?
Well, right now we're touring, and by the way, Calvin is doing some dates with us. We're here in June the 29th. We're at Gardens. What is it? Gardens Basin in Atlantic City, and he performed there last year, and he's performing with us. He's going to perform by himself this year, and probably do something with us. And in May, we're doing the Birchmere in Alexandria, Virginia. And again, I'm going to have him.
Alexandria, Virginia.
You know, and because when he does both, he brings the audience. He bridges the gap.
Yeah.
And like in Atlantic City, he did rap and then he sang, and it brought the audience. They listened and they loved it. And I want to make sure that I continue to keep getting him that exposure. And if the right song come around and he want me to sing on it, I'll be there for him.
I think it's amazing. I think what you have together, well, what you have separately is amazing in itself. But I think that what you guys have together is even better. Like I love the whole piece about bridging the gap, and like I just think it's amazing. Like I'm really, really tremendously grateful to both of you two for obviously taking the time out to talk today. What's the primary thing that you both feel like you wanted to get out there with this conversation?
personally, it's all about Calvin right now. You know, God has blessed me, and for 63 years with the group, 53 years as a solo artist, singing alone, but the group been together for 63 years. I'm blessed, and we still doing it, and I'm thankful to God for that. But my biggest thing is to see him. I want to see him, the doors open for him, and whatever I can do to open those doors for him, he's got it.
Now, how about you, man? What do you feel like you wanted to get out there tonight?
You know, just that there, for me, I think, really the knowledge of it all, what I've learned from him is so important, and I try to pass it on to those that are willing to listen, because it is important, because watching someone have a career for 53 years, and you know, we get caught up in the glitz and glam. Oh, well, this person was white hot, but they were white hot for 20 minutes, and now they can't sell out a coffee shop. So there's a level of consistency that I try to relay that message to anybody that's looking to do this, or gets discouraged from doing this from time to time, because we see the glitz and the glam, or the rise and the fall of certain people. So for me, it's just about seeing that and getting that wisdom from him, and knowing that that's the most important thing, is that in a decade you want to be able to say, I can do a show and I could sell out a venue, and I have people that are actually waiting on more stuff to come out from me. So I think that's one of the main things, is just kind of reiterating that message and instilling that in people so they don't get discouraged. And just being grateful that I have the opportunity to do it. I want people to see this vision that I'm trying to bring to life with what I want to do with music. So yeah, passing on that information and bringing this vision of what I plan to do with my career to life. Those are the two things I wanted to communicate tonight.
I think that's amazing. Again, I think that you both are amazing. That consistency is first and foremost, but I think there's, obviously so much more that goes into a career, in this business, and maintaining longevity. The way that you connect with your audience, and the way that you obviously keep up with them, and you communicate with them, and you connect with them, and they can relate to you. Like, those are the things that are really going to keep you out here. And again, like, first and foremost, that consistency that you have, and the knowledge that you have of the industry and how a lot of this stuff goes. And that's where, honestly, I feel like 99% of the people out there fail, is they don't have the knowledge piece of it. So like, even from the gate, the contracts are messed up, and they're not getting paid. And just all kinds of, a variety of different things. But I think you're in a good spot. Like, you're in a beautiful spot to, be able to have somebody that before you that can really impart the wisdom on you that you need to make it in this. And then it's very clear that you've done a lot of the homework and the research yourself too. I know that's what's helping you to sustain. But I'm grateful to both of you guys. I do want y'all to hang on for a second as I close out. I appreciate you guys tuning in for us tonight. We are going to be back again. We just haven't figured out today because Kat and Tiff were both sick tonight. So we'll get back on with them. You guys can obviously go and check this video out on YouTube. We'll have it on all the different platforms. I want to thank you guys once again for watching us. We will be back with you guys very soon. Thank you again to Mr. Gerald Alston and Cal. And we are going to close out of here.
Oh, one thing, Calvin, we also need to give a shout out to Tangi.
Yes.
For making this happen.
Yes, very much so.
Thank you. And
when I tell you I love Tangi, like, she may not want me to keep saying that she's family, but she's like family now.
Yes.
Like Tangi,
she make you feel that way.
Right.
Absolutely. It was funny because we communicate by text all the time. So like yesterday, I came home early, went to sleep, woke up maybe about 11:30 last night, and she had sent me a text, and I think I was still half asleep. So everything in me thought that she said, "Hey, call me about the interview or whatever." So I'm like, I sent her a text and I'm like, "I figure you still asleep now. I'll call you in the morning." Well, then when I looked at it this morning, all it said was, "Send me the link for the the link for the interview tomorrow."
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know why I thought. Well, I don't know why I thought she said call her. So I texted her back this morning, like, I don't know why I thought you said call you. But no, Tangi's amazing. And
Yes.
I think I was doing a show with another radio station probably 5 or 6 years ago. And I think that's how I came in contact with Tangi. And we've just been, kind of tied at the hip really for the past 5, 6 years. But she really is amazing.
Yes, she is.
And I know she feels that you both are amazing, especially you, Cal.
Yes,
Because there's so much that I can tell that I can see already that that definitely helps her, because I know she's all over the place. No, I think this is amazing, man. I appreciate both of you guys. Also, social media websites. Did you want to shout any of that stuff out before we?
Yeah. So you can find me on all social media platforms at Cal Alston Music. That's CALALSTON Music. I'll say it again because it is a mouthful. It is CALALSTON Music, and you can also find the Manhattans at _Manhattans_FGA. I know that's a lot, but yes, it's _Manhattans_FGA. So you can find us there, and that's about it.
Thank you, my son. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Listen, I appreciate you both. Hang on just for a second.
Okay.
I appreciate you guys for tuning in. We will be back soon. This video is up and live and running right now on YouTube, and we'll have it on all the different platforms, so you can check it out there. And we'll be back with you guys very soon.